very warm welcome to Esther Ghey, Faiy Rushton from MiSP, Mindfulness in School project. And here too, I would like to get it right, so I'm going to use my notes. But out of tragic circumstances, an unexpected seed of hope has been firmly planted within the Warrington community and fast spreading across the country and far beyond, with Brianna's mom, Esther, and her Peace in Mind campaign. Working with MiSP, Mindfulness in Schools project, to develop a pathways mindfulness approach to supporting whole school culture. Faiy will talk with Esther about the potential mindfulness has for supporting communities in difficult times and outline the progress so far of the Warrington project. Deep gratitude for your presence. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christoph. Thank you for that introduction as well. So just wanted to say on behalf of Emily Slater, who was meant to be here, you might have seen her on the programme notes, just an apology from her because family circumstances mean that she can't be here today. So we're representing her, but she just wanted me to share with you that Mindfulness in Schools project, we're really honoured to be part of this work with Esther and the Peace in Mind campaign. So just thought I'd start with that.
So I'd like to begin with the catalyst of this campaign, which is my daughter Brianna. So as you can see, she was absolutely beautiful. The picture on the left is a picture that she had taken by her sister, which was, I think it was for TikTok or Instagram. The picture on the right is one of me and her, and you can see in her face how she really did not want to be in this picture because I think I was far too uncool to upload onto social media. So Brianna struggled with her mental health. She had an eating disorder and she was self-harming. I would say she was addicted to a smartphone, which is another one of my campaigns to make the online world safer for children. But she's the main reason why I'm doing this because I really want to improve the lives of other young people like Brianna. So why mindfulness? Well, I started practicing mindfulness about, I think it's probably 10 years ago now, when I went back to college as a mature student. I was doing a full-time college course. I had 2 children that were primary school age, and I was also working, and I was really stressed. So I looked into how can I actually manage my stress levels, and I happened upon mindfulness and meditation. So I just haven't looked back since then because I noticed how much it improved my focus. I had so much more patience with the children. It also improved empathy towards myself and reduced my ruminating thoughts. So I always had I used to ruminate so much, and I always used to kind of think that I wasn't good enough and I would never amount to anything. And thankfully, because of mindfulness, I actually stopped these ruminating thoughts, and that then helped me to go to college, excel in college, go to university, excel in university, and before I even graduated I was able to get a job in the industry that I wanted to go into. So I kind of thank mindfulness for that as well. The other reason is, I forgot that I actually use this picture because I think this is just so all-encompassing, the children on the phones, the smart devices, and obviously the mum just completely overwhelmed with her head in a pile of washing. I think we can all relate to that. But yeah, also when Brianna passed away, I was asked by the funeral directors to either choose a charity for donations or whether I wanted flowers, and I decided to choose a charity. Sorry. I decided to choose the charity because obviously the flowers would die and I wanted something good to come out of a horrible situation, a tragic situation. And I took such a long time to decide which charity did I want, because I wanted it to be really meaningful. And I went away for a week with my family, and at the time I think I was googling what different charities, and happened upon some really negative comments about Brianna online. And it's something that I've encountered so many times, and it made me sit there and think that what we need in society is for people to be a little bit more mindful, and for people to, sorry it makes it feel so emotional, but for people to be more aware of how their actions impact other people. And I think that this is what mindfulness gives. So it obviously improves, I'm speaking to everybody who probably knows more about mindfulness than I actually do, but it improves empathy towards yourself and towards other people, and mental resilience as well. And I think that all of these things are what we're kind of missing in society at the moment. So, I've been so lucky. The community of Warrington have come together to probably not just the community of Warrington, but so many people across the UK and even across the world have come together to support me, and I've just found it so overwhelming, but I'm also so grateful for that as well. And you can see some pictures of examples of Warrington, the community coming together. At the top left, that's me. My partner wears, I'm trying to figure out what side, on the right hand side of me. And Emma Mills is on the other side, and Tom Bedworth is next to Emma Mills. Tom Bedworth was a community reporter for the Warrington Guardian, and he helped me to start the campaign. And Emma Mills has been so integral in all of the organisation of actually getting teachers on board in Warrington. At the bottom, underneath that picture, it's Danny Walker, who's a Warrington Wolves rugby player, and he wore our Peace in Mind campaign t-shirt on the day that we actually launched the campaign. And I'm trying to think which other one. So the one on the top right, this is the team at Birchwood Park. So they actually gave me the 12-month lease on an office to start up my community interest company, Peace in Mind UK. So just the amount of support has just been absolutely phenomenal. I feel like I shouldn't have used that word. I don't know if I said that correctly then. And this is another example of really great support in Warrington too. So Dylan Kuldeep, who is a NISA shop owner in our local area, I've actually got quite a funny story about Brianna with him as well. I'm not too sure whether I should actually say it, but you know what, I'll go ahead and say it. She will be absolutely mad at me, I think. So she went through a bit of a very naughty stage when she became a teenager, and she actually went into Mr. Kuldeep's shop and shoplifted pocketfuls of chocolate bars, and then ran home, and she'd lost the glasses and a school bag on the way back. And Mr. Kuldeep had messaged me on Facebook to let me know what had happened. So when she arrived at the house, I knew what she'd been up to already. So I think no teenager is a complete angel. But yeah, Mr. Kuldeep wanted to do something to support the campaign, so he reached out to, can you remember, is it Making Communities Better? Yeah, Making Communities Better, which is a charity through NISA, and we're in the process of having conversations with them to see how they can support us as well. So, I think that community is so important. And some of the key strengths from community support is a ripple effect. So after one person helped me, another person would come along and want to help, and we've kind of then built that really great community support, and it's such a great example of everybody coming together in, I think, for such a fantastic cause as well. It gives people a sense of belonging and shared purpose, shared principles and values, and I think that that's another thing at the moment with the online world and the modern day world. We've kind of lost values because everything's so complicated that we've just got like a whole. I think that so many people have got access to our children, and we as parents don't really get to instill our values into our children anymore because there's so many other influences, whether that's positive or negative. So to build that sense of community where we can share our principles and values is really important. Inclusion, bridge building, so to be able to find it in yourself to forgive people and to understand that we have more in common than we actually know. And camaraderie and collaboration. And just to understand that together we're stronger. So after I started the campaign, I decided to set up a community interest company called Peace of Mind UK. And the aim of the CIC is to plant seeds of resilience, empathy and unity in society. And on the 15th of September, which is the anniversary of the campaign launch, we actually did a wellbeing festival called the Peace Festival. And you can just see a few pictures here. So we had a lovely lady from Rainbow Sounds doing sound baths, and you can see it's just an amazing example of everybody coming together as well. So we've got all of the volunteers with me at the top. My poor husband in the Warrington Wolves mascot, dressed as Wolfie, having to do yoga on stage. And then we had like meditation, yoga tents, and it's absolutely everybody that was involved all donated their time as well. So again, it's that sense of community and I think as well like a sense of purpose and wanting to be part of something. So now I'll introduce you to Faiy from Mindfulness in Schools project.
Thanks, Esther. And just wanted to say just how amazing all of that is. I mean, I find it really inspirational to see what's happening in Warrington. And I kind of, I know that it's you that's kind of started all of that there, and that ripple effect has begun with you. So just, huge gratitude from me to you for doing that work. Thank you. You'll have to forgive me, I'm a little bit croaky today. So just to give you some background then to Mindfulness in Schools project, if you don't know anything about it. Mindfulness in Schools started in 2009. It became a charity around about 2014-15. And initially it started with 2 teachers in different schools who decided to create a curricula for teenagers. So it was aimed at 11 to 18-year-olds. Over time, things have changed, and so the real focus these days is both children and young people, and it's through the whole age range from 3 upwards, and also the people who work with them, so staff in schools, as well as parents in schools, of children in school. So it kind of covers the whole community, really, not just students. So that is, of course, really important as a focus. So just to say that we've trained over 8,600 teachers, and this is worldwide. For a little while we just focused on the UK, but it's kind of grown worldwide, which is really lovely to see. And I'll mention an event that we run regularly, actually, that we get to see that, which is really so inspiring. And over 1 million students have been reached with the training. .begin is our adult course, our adult 8-week mindfulness course, which people can do online. And this is the course at the moment, just say .begin is the course that a lot of the education staff in Warrington are going through at the moment. So a lot of them have completed and some of them are in the process of that training right now. .breathe is our transitions curricula, which is for 9 to 14-year-olds. DOTS is for 3 to 6-year-olds. Pause B for 7 to 11. .B for 11 to 18. And then we have .B Foundations, which is an in-person version of .begin. And we've got .B Foundations teachers all over the UK and the world who go in and deliver 8-week courses in schools. And we have a role which is called School Mindfulness Lead, and this is ultimately where we would like schools to get to, that they have somebody in their setting who takes the lead on what's happening in the school in terms of supporting the children and young people that are in the setting, and also more widely the school community, so teachers, parents, governors, other staff that work with the school. And in the last year, I'm really delighted to say that we also offer the present for schools. I was involved in the training team from the beginning, just to shout out to Sarah Silverton, who's down here, who co-created that training. This is a slightly different offer in the sense that the curricula for schools that MiSP offer are lessons that are taught, and the present can be offered like that, but can also be woven through a normal school day. And they were designed to work together, Pause B and the present in particular. So really pleased that we're doing that. And just to say as well, I have Jane near the front row here, who is currently co-teaching this with me. We're running an 8-week course at the moment. It's really enjoyable. So just to mention that. So some of our key learnings that we've had, both from our experience over a long period of time of offering this training in school, partly from our own personal experiences as well, those of us that are involved, just to say that I am a secondary trained teacher and I had a role as a wellbeing lead in a school for 6 years before I began to offer MiSP curricula and the present in other schools for another sort of 7 years before I took the role I have at MiSP. And we've sort of put these together. So the first is that the research tells us that it's very important that teachers, educational staff, want to do this training, that they want to be able to offer it to the children and young people that they work with. Sometimes we have had situations where we've had head teachers who've been really keen and they want it in their school, and they've put people forward, but they're not necessarily people who really want to do it. So we kind of know that that's really key. And in the run-up to the Warrington project, we were talking with Emma Mills, who's the head teacher at Birchwood High, saying this message really needs to be communicated. Only people who want to do this training to come forward for it. So that's been an essential part of this. Also, the training process is optional at every step. So it might be that we get people who come and do that first course that's about their well-being, and then they realise that's where they want to stop, and I think that's important too, that they don't feel any pressure to kind of keep going. Adapting and tailoring the curricula, inclusion and accessibility, really importantly, and through all of training now, both when we're offering MiSP curricula and when we're offering the present, we talk about knowing your children and young people that you work with and adapting what's there to suit them. So a genuine meeting them where they are. It's so essential. Otherwise, we just miss huge groups of children. They just fall through the cracks. And if they're not already falling through the cracks in society, then there's a missed opportunity here if we don't know how to make it accessible for them. And this is why really, teachers who are really keen to offer it to children, that's a really important part of this, because they will be willing to look at ways in which we can help children and young people access this practice. Just to give you an example of this, I was teaching in a technical college and I had a group of young people in front of me who were about 16, 17, and I was teaching them .B, which is the 11 to 18 curricula. And I had one lad in the group who was like, I find, who was autistic, he found it too tickly, one of the practices that we did that was all about tracing your fingers with your breath. And I was like, okay. I said, well, you could do this. So I was offering him other options for ways in which he could access the practice. And he tried it and he was like, oh, that's okay. And then the following week he came back and he brought a glove so that he could pop it on his hand so he didn't have all of that touch sensitivity. And I think it's openness to those sorts of things that really matter. And just to say, because I know that already there's been a speaker here today talking about ADHD. ADHD is one of these key areas where that whole sitting still, being quiet is really tricky. And I had one student in particular with ADHD, and I said, how about if you stood behind everybody and you could move? And that particular student tried that out and it worked for them. And that's really kind of helped me just think about offering movement actually as a way of helping students with ADHD focus if that's right for them. But it's also really important to just check in with them beforehand and see what they think might be helpful. There's a really lovely sort of quote, I'm trying to remember who it's from now, that says that mindfulness is about kind of recognising that we are the experts of our own experience. I can't remember who it is now, but just to really give kind of like, you know, that is really important that we, you know, for all of us, whoever we're working with, that we just recognise that and we actually consult and it's collaborative. And someone mentioned co-creation before, and that's absolutely what we're doing every time we come to teach with children and young people. Meeting them where they are and recognising them as individuals and celebrating that. Ongoing development support from MiSP. So this is something that's evolved over time, is that we now have further training after they've done initial training with us to deepen, hopefully help deepen their personal practice, but also offer support when they go into schools and educational settings and offer this so that they can always come and ask a question at any time. Just wanted to give a shout out to Liz Lord because she was involved in developing the skills workshops for Mindfulness in Schools project, which was all about this deepening of practice and training. So thank you very much for doing that. We also have practice sessions that people can come to. We have retreat days that people can come to. And group mentoring, supervision, so that people can explore sort of what's happening for them in reality when they're in the classroom. Also really important is that school leaders buy into this, so that it's not just a really keen, interested individual teacher. Fantastic, really keen, enthusiastic individual teacher, but you really do need to have the buy-in of school leaders. Interestingly, in Warrington, it was all head teachers that were interested in the first instance. And so that was a really good indicator that they were really keen. But ongoing, we've had things come up that we've needed to address around protecting the time that they're on training and things like that that are just really key and important to make sure it's successful for the staff that are involved. And ideally, there is this sense of hopefully not just mindfulness happening on its own, spinning around, but that it's actually part of a coherent wellbeing approach that's whole school. So it's not just kind of a little bit of mindfulness here and there. Also creating, this is lovely I think, that it creates new opportunities for community within school communities. So if you've got children that are practising, if you've got staff practising, potentially parents, governors as well, there's a real opportunity for kind of coming together and sharing this. And I really feel kind of quite inspired, actually. This is my first time here at this festival, but just really feeling this sense of community of all of us here together, and just thinking about the fact that we're sort of inviting or encouraging little mini versions of that mindfulness community in each school. So I just wanted to, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but just to share with you that the Pathways approach is the approach that we're using in Warrington, and very briefly to say that step one is investigating and finding out. Just to say that QR code, that tiny QR code might take you to the right web page if you know how to do that with your camera. Step two is adult training for their own well-being, but also foundations for them going on to teach children and young people. Step three are the courses for students. Step four is developing a school mindfulness lead who is then able to teach adult mindfulness, so teach their colleagues, parents, governors, other people within the school community. And then step five is where we have centres of good practice so that other people can kind of be inspired by that and go and visit and see what's going on. And of course, every single school has its own microclimate. So it's important to recognise actually that areas will have some things that are shared but also different, and actually there's lots to learn from that, which I think is really exciting. So, what's happened in Warrington so far? Over 100 staff members are involved. They've come from 70 schools in the Warrington area. Over 70 staff have completed the foundational training, or they're in process this term. We've got 11 teachers who've trained in DOTS, Pause B and Dot B. And I just love the fact that already I think we're actually 9 months into the training process. To actually have people who are out there in school delivering this is just really exciting. And we reckon that even if each teacher just taught one class, they'll have reached at least 300 students between them at this point. So we had a community day at Birchwood High because we recognised that probably quite a few of those teachers would be on their own in the school and they wouldn't have other people to connect with and talk with about this stuff. And so we had a day where all of the people who trained so far came together if they wanted to. We had about 40 people, didn't we? So Esther spoke, and also Emma Mills, the head teacher, and myself, and we had the media there, so that was exciting for everybody. Everyone was kind of done up to their best. And just to say that one of the things that I kind of think about in terms of the benefits for mindfulness with community is we think about it in terms of actions, and clearly there have been lots of really positive actions that have resulted from what you've been doing. And I think about the practice itself and the fact that that ability to pause and step back gives us that moment to choose something different, which in itself can be incredibly helpful. I mean, just to share with you that I had a little boy that I taught who was in year 4, and he was in a school where it was mostly forces families. And he was there, and his brother was in the year above in year 5, and I was teaching year 4 and year 5 together. And I'd already been pre-warned about this little boy by the class teacher, which is always quite interesting when that happens. You sort of go, oh, I'm going to just see how it is. But this little boy, we'd just done a lesson where we've been learning about this, about recognising stress reactivity in the body, using that as a clue or a cue to step back and resource yourself. And the following week I came back to this particular group and I said, has anyone noticed stress reactivity in the last week? And did you do a pause B practice? And it's fine if you didn't, so I always kind of normalise it if they don't. And this little boy went, yeah, I did. I was like, oh, okay, great. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what happened? And he went, I was gaming and my brother grabbed the controller off me and I was furious. I was like, how did you know you were furious? And he went, my fists were clenched and I felt really hot. I was like, right, and what did you do? And he went, I just took my attention to my feet. I was like, okay. I said, and how was that? And he went, I still felt mad. I was like, yeah. He said, but then I went and got my mum. I was like, right, okay. I said, what would you normally have done? And he went, hit him. I was like, and just that, you know, just that on its own. So we know this has power just in that moment. That pause gives us the chance to kind of choose something different. But I think as well, when it comes to community, so we're thinking about the actions that we take in terms of how we affect our community, it's also really important to talk about something that is implicit within mindfulness and is not talked about that often. But I'm just going to explicitly, I mean, it's not talked about, we all know about it, but I'm just going to pop all of these up there together. So these are, of course, this is John Kabat-Zinn, just in case you don't know. Just in a mindfulness conference, I shall share that with you. And he, initially there were 7 attitudes that he felt were kind of woven through the practice. And then he came to 9 eventually. And the idea, of course, is that we're not just focusing on our breathing, or we're not just feeling our feet, but we're also noticing the way in which we're relating to ourselves, to our lives, to other people, our relationships with other people. And mindfulness practitioners embody these qualities to varying degrees, and we all change, and it's kind of a shifting thing, and we're all human beings. It's kind of not like we're trying to be all of these things at once, but it's there somewhere within our practice, and we're curious about it and interested in it. But just reading through those things, curiosity, gratitude, letting go, beginner's mind, trust, non-judging, acceptance, patience and generosity. And I think if that was what we were all practicing, and that we were spreading that out within our communities, what a difference that would be making. And I think it really supports what Esther's work is doing, where her intention is to plant seeds of resilience, empathy and unity. So I'm really hoping that I am connected to the internet and I can show you this film clip. But this is just some children and staff in 2 schools. One is in Enfield, North London, and the other is in Surrey. And they're just talking about what they feel the benefits of practicing mindfulness are. So I should just hope this works.
I'd say it means like calming down your mind in stressful situations and like tuning into yourself, because sometimes you just ignore how you're actually feeling, but mindfulness helps you tune into what you're feeling and thinking.
I feel like if you don't know or do it when you need to, then all of this anxiety can like build up and just kind of cloud your mind and make you see things differently.
Sometimes I get angry at my sisters and I get angrier, so I just get out the room and go do some mindfulness for a bit, and it helps me a bit more. You breathe in when you're going up, and when you're going down, you have to breathe out. When you feel scared, you might think something's off to get you, but it's not really actually, but it's just your mind and you just worry about it, but it's not true.
Children are coming in with a lot more issues, so we're seeing a lot of children coming as young as 4, already dealing with stress, low moods, anxiety.
I've used it when I've been revising for tests, and sometimes I find it overwhelming, and it helps me focus on the question more.
It's probably the best thing to help you with stress and keeping calm and maybe even anxiety and different emotions.
I think one of the lovely things about mindfulness is that it helps us to thrive as well as to survive. But actually, there's a whole element of using mindfulness to actually grow your happiness, to notice and pay attention to the good things in your life, and to use those to sort of maximise the positive.
I think I'll use it a lot in the future when I'm auditioning for plays, for example.
When I was going to take a penalty in football, and I just took one big breathe in, and then I took it.
The students are telling me that it's helpful, that they use it for a variety of different things, and I've got literally reams of anecdotes from students about the ways that it's helped them solve conflict at home, exam stress, homework overwhelm, disagreements with peers and siblings, all sorts of things. When they learn about the neuroscience behind, say, the prefrontal cortex and its relationship to the amygdala, and how when in times of stress the amygdala might trigger, and that will stop you from being able to think and focus and concentrate. And when they understand that, it's almost like you get this penny drop moment with the kids.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if teachers just started with themselves? Because I think in this profession, we put people before ourselves. And that quite naturally, the kids have to get through this, they have to be all right. And actually there's so many people I know in the profession that are really on burnout.
Teaches us to be kind to ourselves, and helping others as well in a good way.
And I think it would improve the quality of life, it's about work-life balance.
We need highly experienced practitioners who actually embody mindfulness themselves in order to pass this on to students.
Even if you were quite young, I think it would really, really like improve your knowledge in not just mindfulness, but also helping yourself and your mental health and making sure that you're always okay before helping others.
Okay, so just going to see if I can click us on. Actually it won't, but we're really happy to go to questions now, so I'll see if I can click that on in a sec.
I'm Sophie, I'm a primary school teacher and I've been a mental health and wellbeing lead for about 10 years. And what I've found is that the schools that, in an education system that's heavily focused, on maths and literacy, the places that really need mindfulness, that aren't focusing on personal, social, emotional development, are where they don't have time, space, budget for mindfulness. How do we penetrate those places that really need it? Yeah, thank you. I think the key is to just kind of looking at where it can be adapted. So one of the things that kind of we do or suggest with all of our curricula is that it can be chunked down into smaller bits of learning. And I think especially for .B, which is our 11 to 18-year-old curriculum, they're 45-minute sessions. And so we've really recommended people take them down. I know from the work that I was doing in school that we did it in form time, and that was the only place it would fit, so it wouldn't fit anywhere else in the curricula. But they were quite happy for it to be in a 20-minute form time session. So there are places that it can be found if there's a will there, but that's the kind of key thing. Yeah, thank you for the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to thank you both really. I think it's, especially Esther sharing your stories, you are truly inspirational in what you're doing. One of my questions was about the mindfulness in schools. How do you engage parents where there might necessarily be that level of engagement, obviously, so the child doesn't then become, stuck in the middle of what school's telling them and what home life is actually telling them? I would imagine that's probably quite a challenge at times.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the key things is about communication home around sort of delivering courses in school, and also to keep parents engaged with that through regular bits of info that come home. So we, depending on what the kind of sharing tool is for parents, whether it's online or in other forms, but just a kind of sharing of what the children are doing each week so they're kind of up to date with what's happening. We also recommend that the course can be taught to parents as well at another time. Just to say that engaging parents in anything around wellbeing in schools can be quite challenging. And I know some schools have been really creative in the things that they've done to try and get parents in for that sort of thing. So one school near me runs a kind of raffle and offers cake and tea at the same time as doing sort of a little bit of well-being that parents can engage with as well. So it's kind of doing what we need to kind of help with communication and understanding so that, like you say, everybody's on the same page about it. They know what it is anyway. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi Faiy. Thank you Esther. You are truly inspirational, so well done for getting up and standing up and telling us your story today. I'm a Mindfulness in Schools project teacher, and I find it difficult getting into schools, so if anybody would like to hire me, please let me know. But I wanted to know, Faiy, has Mindfulness in Schools, obviously the name says it all, but have you got an opportunity or a potential to take this online in the future for schools to help, as the lady just said, families come on board, because I find that is quite a barrier.
Yeah, thank you. To some extent we do allow that, but that's for people who are already the class teacher, delivering to their students, so they know them well enough and the background well enough that safeguarding is taken care of. And this is one of the things that we always have to be a bit careful of, is making sure that children are not on their own in unsafe circumstances accessing something online that is being taught live. So that just needs to kind of be explored and looked at, and that's why we haven't done that yet. And we have said it's okay for class teachers because they generally know what the circumstances are of the children they're working with really well. So yeah, at the moment it's kind of still got a little question mark over it. But thank you for asking.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for the talk. It was really, really inspirational. I've got a question. I'm San Harper of the Guild of Mindful Driver Trainers, and I actually teach, as part of my work, I integrate it into my work with training learner drivers, and I also train driving instructors in mindfulness and compassion. And I'd be really interested in speaking to you or somebody in your organisation about how to bridge the gap between mindfulness in schools and road safety, because obviously a lot of the people that I teach to drive are still of school age. And I just think keeping that, the thread, the golden thread of mindfulness alive is something that I'd be really interested in talking to somebody about.
Yeah, lovely. And just what an amazing bit of work you're doing. I mean, that's incredible. Do come and find me. I'm in the foyer. We can have a talk about like potential for how that might join up. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Hi. Very quickly, Esther, thank you so much. I'm Charlie from Glasgow. It really resonated with me about compassion-based activism, the work that you're doing, and Tara Brack's work on compassion-based activism. What do we do after we get off the cushion or off the stool, or, you know, how do we live our practice? So that was really fabulous to hear. And Faiy, I often say as well, if only I had known about this when I was 5, it would have given me a way to cope with so many of the things that life brings. How are you funded in terms of the Mindfulness in School project?
Well, we're a mixture of, we sort of put in bids for money as a charity to kind of offset the cost of funding for people who are in vulnerable, in areas where there's disadvantage. And just to say that I've got a leaflet about that outside in the foyer if you want to come and grab one. So we do our best to try and offset the cost for those that really need it. And then the rest does come through training. The money comes through training. Yeah.
It's probably time for one more question. Again, there's always time afterwards at the stalls, etc. So.
Esther, I just want to say I'm so blown away by your wisdom and compassion to take what's happened and to create peace of mind and the work you're doing with your local community. And my question is just how can we support the work you're doing?
Thank you so much. So really, like any kind of support is always welcome and received with lots of gratitude as well. I think that because it's so early on in the community interest company, it would be great to have like donations, but also if anybody can support and volunteer their time as well. If you go to peaceandminduk.org, then there's an email on there. So just contact, or I'll be in the foyer as well with Faiy, so if you would like to come over and have a chat. Thank you.
Did you want to say something else before?
Just thank you to everybody for listening and really appreciate all your questions as well. Thank you.